Welcome to Operations and Supply Chain University. I'm Jerry Wright. In lesson number 6, we're going to talk about the Kaizen Blitz. This is part of your Ops University Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt certification course. So there's a problem-solving paradigm that I've come across many times. You may be experienced in this yourself. It's what I call the traditional method of problem solving. It's slow and unsure, not slow and sure, it's unsure. What happens is there's a problem or a project that needs to be handled. So management says, let's get an analysis team together, and they analyze and come up with recommendations and then tell management, hey, this is what we think. And they say, oh, no, we wanted this too. And so this analysis process can go on for literally weeks. Finally, they come to an agreement, management approves, and they say, let's get an implementation team together and start working on improving this process or implementing this project. Well, the implementation team says, wait a minute, I didn't understand this. I wasn't on the analysis team, so let me better understand this. So what about this? We forgot. And they go back and forth for another week or so. Then finally they say, okay, we're ready to make the change. And they start driving change. And now the employees who are affected by the change are involved, and they're going, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. You guys forgot about this. Oh man, we forgot about that. So literally weeks, months go by. It's not the best way to do something. The better way is what I call the Kaizen Blitz way. So we just do it. We make stuff happen. We get a team together. We have to be conscientious of the scope of what we're going to do, but we analyze, we run trials, we make changes, and we implement as a team, and we do this just in a matter of a few days. Now, that doesn't work for all projects, but it does work for a lot of problems, and it's much more effective because I've got the process owners, the process experts, process outsiders, and a facilitator all helping to get stuff done. So it's a much better way to approach it. So here's the Kaizen Blitz, right? Kai means to break apart or to change. Zen means to study or make better. It's a Japanese word, Kaizen. So we put it together. It means continuous improvement, good change, as we learned from the previous lesson. We're going to reduce waste aggressively, methodically, and continuously, and we're going to involve everyone who's affected in the solution. Now, here's the German part. This is the Blitz. My sound effect. So the Blitz means we're going to do it lightning fast. So we don't take weeks and months to do something. We try to get it done in a matter of days. Blitz comes from the German word Blitzkrieg, which means lightning attack. Now, we talk about the shortened version of Blitz means we do something quickly. We blitz the quarterback. We blitz through this particular set of instructions. So it just means fast. Now, the Kaizen Blitz is a focused cross-functional problem-solving event that ranges from a few hours to a week or more, depending on the scope of the event. Now, Kaizen Blitz or Kaizen event, some people say rapid improvement event or Kaizen workshop. They're all the same thing, essentially. It's a key tool of creating a lean culture, and that it helps drive all the other tools into the process or work area that's being addressed. So again, the Kaizen Blitz, very powerful tool. Now, the fundamental principle of a Kaizen Blitz is this. This you will likely see on your test for your Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt certification. Anything that does not add value to the product or service is waste and must be reduced or preferably eliminated. That's what we want to do in a Kaizen Blitz. Okay, let's look at an example. This is one from a number of years ago, but it's a great one to share. This is a Kaizen Blitz report out for a machining area. Now, this Kaizen Blitz was 8 days long, April 1st through April 8th. We had a nice big team represented, a great group there. And again, you can see all their names down below. Fantastic group of people to work with. Now, this is our mandate. Here's our A3. You can see the upper right sections filled out. We have the process owners of Dale and Terry, the process experts of Tim, Jerry, Ryan, and Ron, and the process outsiders of Lori, Jim, Jonathan, Larry, and Shetty. And then I was facilitating along with trainees, Brian and Jeff at that time. We had a Kaizen room dedicated for our area, and then we did this from April 1st through April 8th. Now, let's look at the other ends of this Kaizen Blitz mandate. We were working on the machining area. That was our project title. Why are we working on it? Why are we even talking about it? Well, we need to improve cost, quality, reduce lead time, improve improve overall flow and safety or ergonomics for the area. We need to create a finished parts supermarket using Kanban, one of our key tools, and reduce the two bender setup time. If possible, we need to create space for the planned plant one move into plant two by the summer. So again, that was a key thing to do. Now, what were the current conditions? The current machining area occupies 5,000 square feet and is not organized for flow. Parts are placed on pallets and ergonomics is not good. So that was the current condition. Not a lot of detail there. And again, the measures, the standard ones you can see, we'll have other measures we'll share at the end of that. So again, if you notice, analyze, improve, and control, nothing's filled out yet because we just got started, okay? So one of the things we started with is a 7S audit. We went on the floor to the product area and said, okay, let's look at our 7S audit. You'll see that in the next lesson. How do you do a 7S audit and how do you score it? So I'm leading that group through that particular scoring process in the 7S audit before. When we do our audit, we took some pictures. We found lots of storage. We had eraser storage, kind of a joke, tool storage all over the bench, mop storage leaning up against the office cubicle wall. So not a lot of great things. So we said, okay, guys, let's split up and get into brainstorming. How are we going to lay out our process? So we had an expert and an outsider and an owner on every single team. So we had a lot of process knowledge and capabilities. We had Team Blue, the Stars, and the Terminators. Now, the Stars did something I thought was particularly cool. Rather than doing a layout on paper, they cut out the shapes of the mill, the press, the saw, the bender, and laid them out on the floor in the future area we're going to move the machining process into. And you can see them doing that down below. Pretty cool idea. We ended up all using that in our final evaluation. So again, more teams in action. You can see Dale is helping us all review the ideas that we had. You know, they were all good ideas. We each had our own ideas, so we had 3 to choose from. Then we went out on the floor and laid out each of the cardboard sections to say, okay, what is a good way to approach this? Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but those baskets with the rollers on them, that was our solution that we were going to implement regardless to get away from putting parts on pallets and wheeling them around with pallet jacks or carrying them in boxes. We wanted better ergonomics, so we had that as a solution regardless. Now, down on the bottom, we brought in the entire machining team from both shifts and said, okay, guys, you have to live with this. You have to make it work. It's your decision. And a couple of them said, oh, you guys are just going to pick what you want. We said, no, that's not the way Kaizen works. You're the process experts. You're the process owners. You decide. And they said, really? Oh, cool. So they talked about it for like 45 minutes. They said, we want number 2. I don't remember if that was the number, but that's what they said. So they said, we're doing 2 because they're going to have to live with it and make it work. So now we had to get busy. We had a plan. So that particular afternoon or evening, we started moving the equipment into place. We started running conduit and wiring equipment. So again, we had a place to go to. We just didn't know the best layout. Now the team was still in action. So we were doing our 7S, sort, straighten, get everything organized. Again, everybody was pitching in. It was a fantastic team effort. We had the engineers and continuous improvement guys helping put the supermarket together. Just a fantastic job. Now, one of the stories I like to tell is here's Terry. Terry's a plant manager. He's actually, the director of operations for this particular site, and he's mopping the floor. And people are going, why is your director of operations mopping the floor? I say, well, this is a Kaizen event. There's no title or rank. We all pitch in and do whatever's required. And that person goes, hey, can I apply to work here? Because that's the idea. We want to make sure it's a good thing to do and a good place to work. Myself and Lori, you can see here, cleaned out this, I think we were in a vertical machining center. It was filthy. And I asked one of the guys, hey, when was the last time you guys cleaned this? They go, well, probably about 20 years ago. So definitely a good opportunity to get things going. And then, of course, we had to explain how is the Kanban going to work? What's the setup? And you can see Jeff has explained to everybody this is how it's going to go. And there were some people who weren't really sure, is this going to work or not? But once they saw things coming together, they go, wow, this is pretty cool. Can I be next for the next Kaizen? So one of the things we did during the process was setup reduction, or SMED, single minute exchange of die. We'll discuss that as one of the later tools and concepts for the yellow belt. But we looked at the Pines tube bender. And one of the operators, Jerry, who worked on this, said, hey, I'll do a setup and you guys can track my movements. So we had a tube bender layout. And we said, okay, where are you going now, Jerry? I'm going over here. And we just tracked his movements. It took him about 18 minutes to change over the tube bender from one size tube to another. Now that was pretty normal. About 20 minutes was normal. So, okay, great. How can we make this faster? And Jerry said, well, my biggest problem is I'm always going to look for tools that I don't have. So he said, let's get organized. Let's do the exact same changeover again tomorrow with all the implementations and improvements we've said. So we did it the next day. Same guy, same changeover, 7 minutes. Now, that's 11 minutes faster. Keep in mind, he would do this changeover 5 or 6 times a day. So you're talking an hour saved a day, or 5 hours a week, or 250 hours a year. That's a lot of time. So again, big improvement on setup reduction, which we'll cover later in the course. Now, we also had to set up a supermarket. Now, poor Daryl, I felt bad for Daryl. He goes, boy, I wish this was more organized. When we looked at the way they stored the parts before doing the Kaizen event, they weren't in a numerical order. They were just kind of wherever there was space, and they put them there. They had the bins, they had the acro plastic bins, but it just wasn't very well organized. So we got it all set up. We got rid of a lot of junk. We threw out parts and things like that, put things in a scrap metal bin, and then we set it up in numerical order in a 2-bin system where Daryl could find things. Plus, it took 62% less space. So fantastic improvement. And everything was in a 2-bin Kanban system. And we will talk more about the Kanban later in this video series. Now we did some nice 7S improvements, got things organized. Benches were organized. If you actually opened up the drawers, they had nice foam cutouts. Everything was where you could find things quickly. Now, the other big push for us was improving the flow. This was the existing flow before we did the Kaizen. You can see there's a lot of movement. It almost looks like a bowl of spaghetti. In fact, we often refer to these diagrams as a spaghetti diagram, and it's because it looks like a bowl of spaghetti. So we started from the saw and went through the whole process and finally got to the fabrication supermarket area, which was not organized before, as you saw, but now is. And this is what the team agreed on. This is the flow they wanted. And this is what we set up to. If you notice, there's a lot shorter distance as things move through the process from the saw up into the supermarket. A lot less travel, a lot less time required. So again, this is what it looked like before from a picture taken up on a ladder or scissor lift. And that's after. And you can even see the supermarket towards the top of the picture. So a much better utilization of space, much cleaner, brighter area, super organized. Now, one of the things I didn't mention, but I want to cover now, is that when we try to do improvements, we typically aim for 50% improvement. Cut the waste in half. Cut, the time in half. How often does that happen? How often are we at 50%? More often than you'd realize. In this particular one, we did the before and after measures. You can see the 7S audit score went from a 2 to a 6. And again, we'll talk about 7S in just a bit. The lead time for this particular process went from 32 hours to just 8. Number of people involved went from 10 to 8. Number of reports or paper went from 7 to 2. 11 steps went to 9. Total square feet went from 7,452 to 3,100, so less than half, 58% reduction. Setup time, as you saw before, from 18 to 7. And the work in process went from 2,200 to 800, 64% drop in WIP. And then distance travel from 218 feet to just 89 feet. So again, huge improvement. Overall, 70% average improvement. That's well above 50. Pretty happy with that. And then finally, some other benefits we like to talk about is we freed up about 5,000 square feet to help with that upcoming Plant 1 integration move. We allowed the second shift team to actually not work on second shift. They could come back to first shift. They worked in other areas, but they didn't have to be on the night shift, which was pretty warm in that particular site. And then we also removed and identified unused and obsolete metal parts that were being maintained, or at least kept in place. And then we got $700 in scrap metal credit from our scrap metal vendor. So nice big improvement. And then, as with most Kaizen events, we had a 30-day action list, things that need to be done over the next 30 days from April 8th through typically, May 8th or thereabouts. So you can see a number of items had to be ordered, some PC and printer installation had to be finished, a number of different items like that had to be done. But that's typical to have a handful of items to finish, to wrap it up. But typically, we don't want to go more than 30 days before everything's finished. Otherwise, it starts to become a project. And then at the end of each Kaizen Blitz, we have thank you and until the next blitz, because you're going to have to go back and do it again. That's pretty typical. All right. Couple recommended reading and resources. So there's actually a book that was written by Tony Laraya, friend of mine, Patricia Moody, and Doc Hall, who was also a friend of mine, has since passed away. But they wrote the Kaizen Blitz. It's a great way to get started on understanding the Kaizen Blitz inside and out. A more modern version that Karen Martin and Mike Osterling, a couple of friends of mine, wrote the Kaizen Event Planner. And that's a great thing to help you do rapid improvement in office, service, and technical environments. So remember, Kaizen events, Kaizen blitzes aren't just for the factory floor or for distribution. They can be for any process, anywhere. All right, that's it for this lesson. Thank you.